Welcome to Green Dialogues by Future Fuels. Now, Future Fuels is a new initiative of Maritime Gateway. After 13 years in ports and shipping industry, spreading a lot of value-added information and content to the ports, shipping and logistics segment, not only in India, but across South Asia and Southeast Asia, Maritime Gateway has started this new initiative by name Future Fuels. The whole world is now talking about energy transition and green initiatives. So there are a lot of policy changes coming up by International Maritime Organization, decarbonizing shipping. We have targets how to reach net zero, and several countries have announced several deadlines to meet these net zero objectives. So what we thought, since so much is happening in this segment, it is ideal to have a platform to share knowledge and information and updates, especially on policy, technology, and expert opinions, so that the cross section of views can come on board, and then dialogue can be initiated. As part of that, we have a series of conversations with experts on these topics. So we are happy to have Mr. Anil Devli as our first guest in this series of conversations. Welcome to the show, Mr. Devli, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Mr. Anil Devli is a Chief Executive Officer of Indian National Shipowners Association, and a very prominent face on the Indian maritime landscape, not only in India, but globally as well. But however, it's an honor to give a brief introduction of Mr. Anil Devli. A lawyer by training, Mr. Anil Devli is an active member of the Indian Maritime Fraternity. He has been involved with the Indian shipping industry for more than 2 decades. He is currently the Chief Executive Officer of the Indian National Shipowners Association, an organization which is involved in furthering the interests of the Indian flag. He has varied experience in the business of shipowning and operations. In addition to this experience, he pursues actively the policies for the growth of Indian shipping industry. He engages in thought contribution towards other maritime related activities as well. He is a strong believer that the growth of India as a world maritime power is of paramount importance, and India's relevance and standing in the world is irretrievably linked to the growth of the Indian flag shipping industry. Once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Before we proceed, sir, I must congratulate you. When a few years ago you started Gateway Media, in those days I was still an executive in a shipping company, and I must admit that from there to where you have moved this banner for shipping as a business has been extremely encouraging. And when you told me about your idea of Future Fuels, on behalf of the Indian shipping industry, I can only thank you because this will be a forum that would be available to the shipping industry, the entire maritime industry, for the purposes of talking about what is coming to us. And I congratulate you on your far-sightedness, and thank you for this opportunity, sir.
Thank you for that compliment, sir. Let me begin by asking you, after the recent COP26 summit at Glasgow, the focus is back on strengthening the measures to cut down the greenhouse gases, especially in global shipping, moving towards the green transition. So what is your perspective on this agenda towards green fuel and green shipping? Are we in the right direction?
Yes. If one is to take by and large the larger direction that has been taken, surely we are in the right direction. You, me, we as a generation need to be mindful of what we are leaving for those coming behind us. The fury of climate change is being seen by all of us. So yes, the direction is correct. But I think the direction is also broken. And that has to do with the fact that we are in early days today. There is still a great sense of uncertainty about what path to take, what is being proposed versus what finally will happen as a product is not known. So a ship owner today is, I would say, in the midst of a junction where there are several roads standing or several options standing before him. And it would be extremely difficult for a ship owner to be able to today take a decision on what path he has to take. In addition to this, I think one of the other important things is that as a world, we are making a lot of motherhood statements, but execution of those motherhood statements, I find that my members sorely lack a direction that has to be adopted for the purpose of execution of those goals. So, but I'm sure it will come. But since you asked, I think, yes, we are in the right direction, but there is a lot more that needs to be done. A lot more clarity needs to happen so that the entire ecosystem comes into place.
Okay, let us continue this a bit forward. So among us, this early initiatives or the kind of several options or gray areas that exist, where is Indian Ship Owners Association or Indian Ship Owner? What is the current thinking? Just to move forward, to get a greater clarity, what do you think that industry association as well as government should be doing right now?
So one thing, obviously, there is no choice but for us to also come in line with the thinking of the world. Our Prime Minister himself at this COP, recent COP, has also set a target for India. And at the end of the day, shipping is an international business. So we cannot be different from what the world is doing. At this stage, I must also make a mention and compliment our DG Shipping, who I remember when we a few months ago personally asked him that will all of this get extended also to our coast, and he was unequivocal and said, yes, this will extend to the coast, Anil. This has to be all the way. You know, all of us must practice a movement towards green. So in that sense, therefore, and by that, we as Indian ship owners are definitely along there to do what needs to be done. And I'm proudly saying that our members have already taken several steps that they need to take in respect of the short-term immediate goals. The short-term immediate goals, as you may be aware, are the EEXI, then the CII, and then we'll move towards a complete transition. But there is a lot that needs to be done by the government. The first is the awareness itself. I mean, other than our own DG Shipping and the Ministry of Shipping and people such as you and the others in our community, outside our community, very few people understand the importance of what we are doing. The other issue that often comes along is that if you look at shore-based industries, and it is not my intention to try and compare anybody, but shipping per se as an industry worldwide is the lowest in terms of its carbon emission. Yet there is a lot of pressure on shipping to perform. We are happy, and I can say this on behalf of all our leading companies, whether it is Great Eastern, whether Seven Islands, or it is Sanmar. Continuous, the board of directors at every board meeting are discussing ways and means to educate, first of all, ourselves on what we need to do in order to carry out this transition and what is it that we are doing. To give you a few examples, I know that our members today have engaged in doing various activities. Some of these are, for example, putting some speed limitation devices. But another owner has gone in for these hull structure painting. Somebody else was mentioning to me about one of their vessels having gotten into use of biofuels. So everybody, each one of us, I'm proud. You know, we are as India, we are not a very large shipping nation, though we should be. But even within that restricted size that we have, proudly, all my members and all my owners have taken whatever steps needs to be done. One ship owner I was talking to yesterday has been able to report a 10% increase in efficiency thanks to just these very measures, and this is very encouraging. But we need a lot more support coming in from the government. These are all voluntary measures which today we are doing, which are coming at a cost, but not such a huge cost. But when we take that larger step, I think there's going to be a cost. There is going to be a environment that needs to be created, and that is something that we trust that with somebody like you, spreading the good word, I think there will be a greater understanding all around as to what needs to be done to ensure that the Indian shipping industry on the coast, as well as whatever is on the foreign going, are able to comply with the requirements of these decarbonization goals.
So let me pick up a couple of them. One is, of course, yes, awareness is the first step that we should share a lot of information and then sensitize all the stakeholders in the segment. But see, several initiatives are being taken, like you said, these are smaller steps. Earlier, we have seen in the very early days, slow steaming was considered, but that was more towards fuel efficiency, conservation of fuel rather than more towards green shipping, like the hull painting or fitting scrubbers or adding fuel additives or shifting to green fuels. So there could be many options and reaching out to the goal of green shipping. But with your experience, let us crystal gaze what actually happening. What would happen? Do you think in this segment ultimately? Which technology or which kind of like steps would lead to this?
The favorite, as you're aware, seems to be hydrogen. Of late, you look at anyone and everybody is talking about hydrogen. Maersk has also put a big bet on hydrogen, and obviously, when Maersk does something, it would be a well-researched and well thought out. So, I will not venture into the area of trying to say where things will go. But my personal favorite is ammonia, and though it is a little hazardous, but somehow it seems to be that ammonia probably stands a greater chance of becoming one of the preferred fuels which will help in this transition. In fact, this is something that I alluded to, that at this point in time, if one has to start planning, and even when one is looking at new buildings, of course, today the values of ships have gone up considerably, and in our own opinion, this is not the time to go out and buy assets. But nevertheless, new ships are being built, and these new ships are coming out with, will need propulsion systems. So the question that comes up in continuation to what you have asked is what sort of propulsion will these ships have? And as of today, people are talking about dual fuel engines. Whether we will be able to reach and have hydrogen as one of the main fuel systems, we do not know. But all of this is fraught with a lot of issues that are related economically also. For example, if you look at the European Union wanting to have these emission trading scheme, and there was a proposal where they wanted to impose some amount of levy on ships which are today what they consider polluting or not meeting their standards. But the point at the end of the day is that this cost of doing all of this cannot be borne by the ship owner. This will have to get passed on to the consumer. So when we talk about these new fuels also, one has to worry about the ability of shipping to be able to economically carry out that service. As it is today, when I go back to my friends who are in the container shipping industry, they are all very happy owners. But when you talk to your friends who are shippers and consignees, they are very upset with us because they say your freight rates have gone up. Now, with this green, we have to remember that we will have to pay for that cost of that green. So today, even when we are looking at a blending with biofuels, which, as I said, at least one Indian company has already embarked on that, there is an increase in cost. And then the question is going to come is who's going to bear that cost and how that cost will be offset by the trade. So I am not very certain as to what will be the fuel of choice, which will all be driven finally by science. But at least today, most of the people who are senior to me and who are in this business seem to agree that ammonia seems to be having the forefront. Though, of course, seems to be the politically popular choice for everybody else. LNG, etc., probably will be a choice, but it is not necessarily a good choice in terms of emissions. So I'm afraid at this point in time, this is all that people like me know. And in fact, this is I can say this for certain that this is causing a lot of anguish to members, even one or two Indian ship owners who tomorrow are looking at even building vessels on the coast. For example, when you look at tugs, we have members who are building harbor tugs and want to build harbor tugs on the Indian coast. So same question in their mind, because they will have to build today looking at 20 years down the road. Now, how do they propel this? So we have just come in some trying to get some understanding from Vatsila on these hybrid tugs. But will that be the answer? Because at the end of the day, a huge amount of investment will go in when we are building these ships. And that investment must get paid off over 20 years. And finally, the ports will pay for that investment, because I will build a ship and I'll provide a service to the port. So these are questions that we are grappling with, and we are still not certain where we are going with it.
In case of new builds, yeah, it could be a lot easier because they can come up with the innovations that are available and then maybe catch up with the trend. But in case of the existing old ships, would be definitely a burden on the ship owner to take up the transition in terms of either retrofitting or shifting over to new fuels. That is one. And I think that as it is, bunker is a cost, and definitely the new fuels wouldn't be cheaper. They also would be expensive, because unless we are well advanced into the transition initial stages, but everything could be expensive. So in this kind of scenario, definitely the Indian ship owner is burdened with all these top and what is expected from the government, that what ideally government of India should be doing?
So yes, and I think this is one of the most important issues that we are working on today as an association and as a representative of the Indian ship owners. What we will need from the government finally is two things: support in terms of awareness and support in terms of financial assistance. Now, this financial assistance and awareness you spoke about, and through channels like yours, awareness definitely will get raised. Overall, the next generation is far more aware about this than we are. But what is needed is that, you rightly said, there is going to be a cost to this. There are two costs. One is the capital cost of either changing an equipment or changing the propulsion system or, paints, etc. All of this is going to cost a fair bit of money. And the second is the daily cost, the revenue expenditure. So the fuel itself that will propel it. Now, this is going to be also tied up with the value of the asset. So the first thing that we have to take into consideration, and a lot of owners are working on, is will it become feasible to be able to take that old asset and convert her and retrofit her? And if I do, will it make sense for me to run that vessel over the next 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the age of the vessel? So you are aware that India's mainline fleet has an average age of about 22 years. This year, it has slightly gone down to about 21, thanks to the new tonnage that has come in because of this subsidy scheme that the government has given. But there are still some vessels which therefore may not work retrofitting any of the equipment. Those vessels will have to be perhaps scrapped, but replaced with new tonnage. So one is, there will be money needed for the purpose of replacement of that tonnage which cannot be retrofitted and brought into the decarbonization or decarbonized environment. The second is the assistance in respect of these devices, etc., that we will be undergoing. And we are looking for a long-term support, either by way of some amount towards one-off subsidy, which the government must give, and a one-off long-term loan. So we are not saying that the government should bear all the cost. We are looking for government to become a partner with us in all of this where they give us some kind of rebate like they give for cars or they have given for other sectors. So if the cost is 100, one can say that 20 or 30 rupees would be borne by the government through a subsidy. The balance 20 or 30 rupees can become a sort of a long-term 10-year loan with very, very low cost interest, which the shipowner will pay. And the shipowner himself will bear about 40 or 50 rupees out of that 100 rupees. This way, we will be incentivized to carry out that retrofitting. Now, we have to also look at from the consumer's point of view. Now, as soon as I retrofit these ships and I put all of this equipment, there is going to be a situation where the cost of transportation is going to go up. And the impact of all of this on the economy is something that the government will have to look at. Obviously, this cost is going to go up for everybody. It is not going to just go up for India. Everybody, worldwide maritime cost is going to go up. The cost on road is also going to go because those fuels are also going to become greener. So overall cost will go up, but there will have to be an awareness again in terms of this increase in cost that people are going to face. So we believe that the government needs to handhold us in this transition. And we were hoping that we would see something in this budget. But I was also told by one of our senior members that it is too early, Anil, for us to expect anything. A proper framework will have to be prepared and we will have to discuss with the government. And only then will the government be able to come up with some kind of a response on how they are going to assist us. But I can also say this, that the DG Shipping and the Ministry of Shipping both have already begun engagement with us on this issue of ascertaining what is it that the industry will need.
Thank you very much, Mr. Devli. Yeah, we have discussed a lot of things under the gamut of green shipping, and it's not an easy road ahead, but I am sure collectively under INSA banner that you have taken a lot of initiatives. You have been fighting for the Indian tonnage, and then the same spirit we will continue to see in taking all the Indian ship owners, walking them through this transition. And as you rightly said, I think this sensitization should begin with the government and ministry also, so that they are well aware of what could be the burden on both the ship owners as well as on the consumers. So we'll be happy to be associated in all these activities, and then let this discussion continue on several platforms so that till the clarity emerge that we have to do this exercise. And thank you very much for sparing time and giving us these perspectives.
Not at all. I must thank you for providing this platform, and I look forward to working more with you, Ramprasad ji, towards this end. So thank you and your team.